Good morning, Year 9. I'm going to be talking to you today about GCSE history to help you make informed choices when choosing your GCSE options over the coming term. Firstly, why choose history? History teaches you valuable skills. You'll learn how to analyse information, think critically, and build strong arguments. These are skills that are useful in any careers, whether you wanted to be a lawyer, a journalist, a politician, or even a detective. And I'll talk more about the careers linked to history later. History also helps you understand the present and the world around us. Have you ever wondered why wars happen, how governments work, or why people fight for their rights? By studying the past, you'll see patterns that explain today's world, from politics to social issues. History is also full of real-life stories, battles, revolutions, incredible leaders, and even scandals. You'll study fascinating topics like the rise and fall of powerful men during the reign of Henry VIII and the sway that women like Anne Boleyn had over the King of England, Nazi Germany and how the youth, like yourself, were controlled in Hitler's Germany, or the history of medicine and the stories of those on the front lines in battle. Lastly, history opens many doors. Universities and employers love students with history qualifications because it shows you can think, research and write well. Whether you want to go into law, business, teaching or even gaming, this subject will give you an advantage and a head start in your next steps. So what do we study at GCSE history? The GCSE is split up into 3 papers where you will study 4 different topics. Some of these topics will have been ones you will have already got some knowledge on through your studies at Key Stage 3, giving you a head start in these areas, whereas some topics will be completely new to you. We start off in Year 10 looking at Weimar and Nazi Germany, focusing on the rise of Adolf Hitler and his control over the country. We then move on to the Cold War, a unit you will be familiar with through your studies in Year 9, looking at the rivalry between the USA and the USSR after World War II. We will then move on to study perhaps our most famous king, Henry VIII, and then in Year 11 we end with a focus on medicine in Britain from 1250 to the present day. And we do a whole unit that focuses on World War injuries and treatment on the front lines in the trenches. So in Year 10 we will start off looking at the infamous Adolf Hitler and his rise to power. You will start off by looking at the state of Germany after World War II and how the Allies decide to punish Germany and the political, economic and social unrest this causes. You will then look at how this leads to the rise to power of Adolf Hitler as he gains control over Germany with his notorious Gestapo and SS soldiers and use of concentration camps, before then looking at how ordinary people, like ourselves, were affected by his rule. Two is then a bit different as it is on 2 topics rather than just one. Firstly, you will learn about the Cold War, revisiting events that you'll have studied in Year 9, such as the Cuban Missile Crisis and how the world almost had a full-out nuclear war, as well as looking at the rise and fall of the Berlin Wall, the shooting down of the U-2 spy plane by the Soviet government, and also looking at invasions carried out by the USSR, such as those in Hungary, Czechoslovakia and Afghanistan. You will then end Year 10 and begin Year 11 looking at Henry VIII, focusing on his rise to power and his chief advisors Thomas Wolsey and Thomas Cromwell. You will look at the role his wives play in governing of the country, as well as his break from Rome, whilst also looking at key events in Henry's hunt to be the most powerful and successful monarch that England has ever had. And our last paper is Medicine in Britain. In this paper, we will start all the way back in the year 1250 and we'll look at medieval beliefs about the causes of disease, focusing in on the Black Death that killed over 50 million people across the world. You will then move on to the medical renaissance, where you will learn about individuals such as William Harvey, who is the man who actually found out that the blood was pumped around the body by the heart, as previously it was thought that it was the liver that did this. You will then focus on industrial medicine, looking at the spread of diseases such as cholera that was finally conquered by John Snow, before moving on to modern Britain, where we will study the creation of penicillin and tackle our current battle against the spread of cancer. You will also have a standalone unit where you will look at injuries in World War I and developments of things such as plastic surgery. Another selling point of the GCSE is the trips that we get to go on. As part of your studies on Nazi Germany and the Cold War, there will be the opportunity to go see Berlin, the very city once ruled by Adolf Hitler, that was also divided into East and West Berlin during the Cold War. This will either be in year 10 or year 11 of your GCSE. We will also go to the theatre in the autumn term to see Six the musical, based on the wives of Henry VIII, which will help you enhance your studies of Henry's rule of Britain. So going back over why choose history and how history can actually help with your next steps in life. So as I said earlier, history is a good option for a GCSE due to the doors that it can open. If you're currently sat there uncertain about your future and what you want to do next, don't panic, but you should be considering history. It is a good option for you. And the reason for that is because it's what we call a facilitating subject, which means there are so many career paths that history will help with. This is because you develop the analytical and critical thinking skills that many employers will want you to have. It shows you can write and communicate well. It shows you have opinions and are good at convincing others of those opinions. So if you know you want a career in law, journalism, HR, in business or in politics, then history is the job for you. If you're not sure what your job is going to look like, again, history is the option for you. There are also many famous people out there who have got history degrees, again showing you how history is helpful for keeping lots of doors open. For example, the CEO of YouTube has a history degree, as does actor Sacha Baron Cohen, famous journalists and TV presenters Jonathan Ross and Louis Theroux, politicians such as President Biden, as well as many newspaper and magazine editors. They all have history degrees. This is just a few of the careers that history can relate to. I would really strongly encourage you to do further research into this yourself. Thank you for listening to Year 9. If you have any questions, please do approach any of your history teachers who will be more than happy to help you with these queries. And please do make sure you come along to Year 9 options evening. We'll then be able to have conversations with yourself and your parents about your next steps, making sure that you're making fully informed decisions about your GCSEs.